There we are. Okay, awesome. Well, people are still kind of trickling in. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us today. My name is Kerry. I am the Market Center Tech Trainer here on Oahu and joined by my counterpart, partner in crime over there on Maui, Latasha Baldwin. And super excited for you guys. A couple of things we'll be talking about: compliance and command. There is a process, and everything works best when you work it, right? And so we'll talk about that a little bit. So today is meant for agents, it's meant for admin, it's meant for transaction coordinators to be here. Like wherever you are in this, we're going to have this repeating class to make sure that everybody is comfortable and confident and moves forward together. Couple of just notes here, housekeeping. Pretty chill. I hit record this time, so the only thing going on is not a sunburned brain, but I'm starting to peel from red day. So if like my skin is falling off of my face in high definition while we talk, like don't mind that. I do have a video queued up, but you know what, I would I have a video queued up, and we're gonna hand it over to Latasha to take us through some initial steps and introduce herself. But let me queue up this video because I know we got people from Oahu and Maui. I used this quote the other time, and I thought this was pretty cool. How Maui and Oahu is a little bit different, but kind of the same. So let's see if we can cue this up.
Hey, today you get driver license?
Oh yeah, look at this. Look at this. Check that out. Check that out. Yeah, Daniel LaRusso.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Kid's legal now, huh?
Oh, I never know you have sweetheart.
Oh, no, I don't.
Look good together. Different, but same.
No, different, but different.
Too bad mother not here.
Anyway, I thought that was cool. There's a little bit of difference in how we do things, but really it's all the same. And so between Latasha and I, you guys have lots of support, and we're super happy you guys are here today. That being said, I will let Latasha right now just introduce herself to our family here on Oahu and kick us off.
Thanks, Kerry. So as he mentioned, he is definitely my partner in crime. So I'm Latasha Baldwin, and I am the MCTT for Maui, Keller Williams Realty Maui. I also help all of our agents with command. So our agents span Maui, and we also have Big Island and Kauai agents. So I do my best to help them with command and understand command. And so just a little bit of background about who I am. I come from a background of, I used to be a former teacher. I also used to be a marketing director. And then now I own my own staging business. So I look at what you do from a realtor perspective slightly different, but it also enriches what I bring to the table. So I try to always add value to the agents. I'm here to help you as well. So anytime you need me, let me know. I do work part-time. So 8 to noon, but I'm here to help, and Kerry and I are going to begin collaborating even more. So I'm not going to talk anymore about me. If you have questions, reach out, but I really want to just jump into the heart of what we're going to do today. And so Kerry and I chatted, and we want to start from the foundation and make sure that we're all kind of speaking the same language. So I'm going to share my screen and confirm that you all can see my home screen. Thumbs up, reactions. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So within the home screen, you log into command. The one fundamental thing that I want to say that Kerry and I both agree on is that everything is connected within command. So the first part of today, I'm going to talk about how everything's connected, the foundation. I'm going to target or highlight about a recent class from George Kelly yesterday. And then I'm going to get into opportunities overall, and then also how to create custom tags. Keep in mind that everything is connected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically light the torch, and then I'm going to pass it to Kerry, and then he's going to do a deeper dive into compliance. And so we'll tag team throughout this little hour and make sure that you have some real nuggets. So the first thing that I want to say is everything in command, as you already know, begins with a contact. So making sure you get that contact information in there. Good data in means good data out. So I'm going to flip over to contacts within command. For those of you that are a little newer to command, if you are not familiar with the applets on the left-hand side, you can select this red portion and it'll fan out all of the titles of the applets. So I'm in contacts right now. And so best practice as it relates to contacts. First of all, you want to keep the principle in mind. Add one, move one. I'm going to say it again. Add one, move one. What that means is for every contact that you add into command, be conscious of trying to move someone throughout your sales pipeline or your stages and or phases. So again, add one, move one. So we add by clicking on add. And what I want to mention is once you add it, then the thing that you want to do is you want to, from the contact card, which is the best practice. So let me take a step back. So now that we have the overall goal of add one, move one, now let's say we have this contact card and we want to begin to open an opportunity or create an opportunity. There are two ways, as you already know, but just as a familiar reminder, there are two ways to open an opportunity. You can either open an opportunity or create an opportunity within the contact card itself, and or you can go into the opportunities applet and add one. The best practice is to go in the contact card. So you can click on this one. I always use Aaron. He knows that he's my tester. And so I click on the name, Aaron, and from there on the right-hand side, I can click on opportunities. And then from opportunities, it shows me all of the opportunities currently that I have for him. And then I can simply create an opportunity. So from here, you create an opportunity. Part of the reason why this is the best practice is because everything is preloaded, meaning all of the data that you have or the information that you have on Aaron or whomever the contact is in there, and it auto populates this. So it's less data entry for you. So in terms of we're all the same, but we're a little different. Within Maui, we have a little different way that we do opportunities. So for Maui, what we do is we keep it Aaron IU listing, and then we have the address. And so I know for Oahu, they do it slightly differently, but no matter how you do it, the process of making sure it's labeled properly is the same, meaning making sure that you are in compliance based on Maui and Oahu. So then from there, you go through, or let me stop from top to bottom. So then from opportunity type, you select either listing or buyer, landlord or tenant. Typically, you're going to be in the listing or buyer. You will have all this auto-populated. If there was a co-seller, you put your co-seller here. Custom tags are here, but I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. So I'm going to come back to that. But if you wanted to do a custom tag because I've entered them already, you can have them in there, but I'm going to hold off on that. Whatever the estimated close date, commission rate, we typically just keep it at 3% just to start the process. That does not mean it's always going to be that. It just means we use that as our starting base. You can always go back and change that later. Then you can go into identifying what phase and or stage it is, and then create. So I'm not going to create this because I'm actually going to pop out of here and go into opportunities. But before I do, I'm going to stop talking and see what questions or clarifying questions there are. Everybody good with me? Thumbs up, reaction, just let me know you're good. Okay, so now opportunities. So opportunities, here's where it gets real. So how many of you, show of hands, watched or participated, I guess participated would be the better question, attended the George Kelly presentation? So let me make sure I'm clear on that. Yesterday, which is always part of the Take Command with Zach, he had a special guest, George Kelly. How many of you on this call actually participated in that? Show of hands. I'm looking. Okay, Robert, I see you. That class, oh, I'm sorry, I see you. That class was awesome. It was so refreshing because I know Carrie teaches this, and I know I teach it on Maui about how to maximize not only your phases, your stages, but also adding and effectively using checklists. And he was basically the poster child of this. So he operates a team, and they are the highest functioning team in our region. They're on pace to close 250 units this year, and they use it all, or they run their program or run their business all in command based on opportunities. So I'm going to quickly go over this, and then I'm going to pass it over to Carrie. But here is our opportunities. You have, I'm going to click on here. Some of you will be a part of a team, so you'll know all the nuances. But now I'm making sure that teal, again, for me, I always say teal is your friend. So my teal underline is telling me that I'm in LaTasha Baldwin's transactions or opportunities. So within opportunities, one quick thing. Remember I talked about custom tags? How you enter custom tags. So let's say you want to be able to, let me go into listing and cultivate. Let's say I want to add a custom tag for Aaron. So what I would do is I would click on this. I view details, click on here. So now I'm in the actual opportunity, specific opportunity for Aaron. I'm gonna go here, click on the pencil. And then from there, I'm gonna get this pop-up that says custom tag. So I'm just gonna do mortgage for now. And then I will type in all of that. Or excuse me, I would plug in all of that. I'm just gonna do save for now to show you. I'm gonna go back to Aaron. Oops. Go back to the sales pipeline. Go back to cultivate. Now you see how it says mortgage up there. So how did I get that tag? I'm glad you asked that question. So what you wanna do is to your avatar, top right, see my white hand here, is you hit the drop down, you go into settings. From settings, on the left-hand side, you go into command settings. Command settings then takes you, or you go to opportunity settings. Within opportunity tags, and that's where you saw my tags were. So then you simply create a tag, you call it whatever you want to call it, you assign it a color, and then you hit create, and that's how you do it. Why is this important? Let me go back to this. Couple of things. As all of you know, your phases within command cannot be edited. The phases are based on the MREA model that Keller Williams uses faithfully by our fearless creator and original founder, Gary Keller. And so cultivate, opportunity, active, under contract, close are phases that cannot be edited. However, you can go into cultivate. Within cultivate, you can create stages. And so there's two things that I want to say about this. Number one, if you wanted to build out all of your stages and assign checklists across the board, so as you add one and then move one, if you wanted to make it a general template, you go into edit stages, and then from edit stages, you can title these however you want. You can change the names, but you notice how each of my stages has a checklist. So you can go into checklist from here, or excuse me, you can add a stage. And so let's go to this one. And then you go in and you can add all of these items in terms of to-dos, what you need to do. And you simply go through that process. Couple of things let me stop talking right now. How many of you have taken the time to enter checklists within your stages? Okay, so the reason why you want to do that is it creates consistency. It creates that customer experience where every time, no matter what client you are, whether it's a listing or a buyer, For the listing, you have a set of checklists that walk you through that sales pipeline up to what Carrie's going to talk about. For the buyer side, you have a same guidelines or checklist you do every single time for agents, or excuse me, for your clients. That does not mean that you cannot add additional things. What that does is it creates consistency. So you do the same thing every time and you create that referral business that all of you want to be a part of. So then you can create it and it will apply to everything on the listing side for Cultivate. You can do it for appointments. You can go into appointments, edit those stages, go from there. Active, you get the message. Then you can also go to under contract, close, and so forth and so on. So then you can do that same thing for the buyer, but I'm actually going to come back here, go back into Cultivate. Let's say you don't want to, you've already built out your general platform that applies to all contacts. Let's say Aaron has some specific things that you want. Whoops, I went too far. Let me back up out of here. So Aaron has some specific things you want to add specifically to him. So then you see at the bottom here in that contact card, it says 0 out of 2. These are custom things that I did for Aaron. So I can simply click on this. And then I can add items that are specifically related to Aaron only, not to everyone, but specifically to Aaron. You can also add or attach a client update. The key thing I want to say about the client update is that you first have to establish what time of the day do I want to send the client out update to this particular person. Meaning, let's say, for example, I'm sending him a text message. Let's say that Aaron wants to, he's leaving the island and he wants me to water his plants. I can go in and add the task, add his plants, then, excuse me, water his plants. Then once I water the plants, I can select this box, it'll strike it out. And then what's going to happen is based on the time that I've set it up for, it will email Aaron, hey, these are the items that, you know, Latasha did for you, or Carrie did for you, or Robert did for you. So that's how you can also add a client update so the clients know all of the little things that you do for them to get them to close, whether that's listing and or buyer side. Clarifying questions for that part. So one other thing that I want to highlight, and then I'll turn it over to Carrie for the compliance piece, and then we'll kind of go back and forth in terms of contributing. In terms of how to make sure that email is set up properly, you can go into settings, and then from settings, you can go into command settings, and then go into opportunity settings. And then now we can go into client update. Make sure, remember, Teal is your friend. So I want to be in Latasha Baldwin. And this is because I'm on a team. So whatever your team name here will be there. So that's why I wanted to call that out. So then if you scroll down here to see where it says time based on specific or Pacific or Honolulu time. So then for me, I set my time up for 9. You can set yours up however you want. The sender is going to be me, the owner. I just defaulted to, or not defaulted, but I selected to have the co-client emailed as well, meaning that if they, you know, have a partner that you want to make sure the partner also receives the email, or if you want to have a primary client only, however you want to set up your business. And then I selected this box to make sure that I'm CC'd so I know what goes out. So then you can simply click the preview button. The preview button will look like this. This will give you an idea of what it looks like. It'll have your logo up here. It'll have your information from your marketing profile, John Smith or whomever. We're checking off things. You will have the actual listing, the hero image from the listing, and or if it's a buyer and they're buying a specific property and you've attached it, that will show up. And then it'll just list out the checklist. Thanks very much. And then basically your marketing profile is on there. Again, reminding them about downloading your app. And so it's a really cool way to send messages automatically. Keep in mind that if you do this, once you close out an assignment, it takes 24-hour cycle, and that next 24-hour at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. or whatever it is going to go out with that information. Clarifying questions? For those of you that have not started adding checklists and or managing your stages and phases within Command, do you see this as a useful tool, something that you will do to keep you on track and focus? Or maybe there's another CRM that you're using, but you can use Command to run your business effectively and at a high level.
No. And if you guys have any questions on where to find a checklist, and email Latasha and I, and especially with a lot of these classes, there's lots of resources, whether or not you attend a class like this, but the recording or where you pause and do it yourself. There's lots of training with Scott Leroy Marketing every morning, 7 to 8 a.m. I put the links for the regional training first Wednesdays and third Mondays inside of the chat box, so you guys can register, and it just pops up in your calendar every month, right? So I know it's a lot. We wanted to take some time to go over opportunities because there's different people in different capacities in here and different levels of experience. That being said, as we move over into like actively moving in what's required for compliance, again, this class is for agents, admins, TCs. Like, who's an agent in here? Kind of go like this. All the agents, licensed real estate professionals. Awesome, awesome. So, because we're going to be radically transparent right now, everybody that goes like this, the next question is, who's ultimately responsible to have contracts and legal things and signatures and whatnot taken care of and in the right yeah, keep going like that. Yeah. So, but we get it. And so a little bit more on me. I'm a licensed agent. I was working as inside sales with a mega team here on Oahu. I get the system. We were doing 140, 150 transactions annually, and the system's a bear. So either you're using it yourself, you have an administrative person helping you do it, an assistant do it, or you have a TC helping you with the compliance portion. There's a process for you as a licensed agent to get paid on time. If you're experiencing issues in that process, we got to keep going like this, right? We got to start talking each other, and that's why we're doing this class. What can we show you guys to help you as an agent recognize what needs to be done, regardless is if you're doing it yourself, right? But then how can I communicate with the team that I'm surrounding myself with? How do I help my admin help me? How do I help my TC help me? If you're a TC, how do I help the agent effectively not have to worry about this, right? Like, we all got to work together, because if we work the process correctly, we can, compliance is meant to keep you out of court, right? We can be safe and we can get paid on time. And really that's what's important, right? So that being said, we're going to cover some best practices. We're going to take a look under the hood and be radically transparent. And anybody that did a training with me knows that I like to give away free stuff. So if you are on the call today, we've got a walkthrough for you, even a little video to kind of show you some tips and tricks inside of Command. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen.
Quick question.
Yes, certainly.
I'm going back to Latasha. You said something that rung in my head regarding, okay, we want the referral business. We don't have to put our referrals in this, right? I've had 3 come in recently. I've never put them in Command, but I, still get the check. I have one coming in on the 27th. But as far as outgoing or incoming referrals, we don't really put those in, especially because we don't know what it's all going to amount to. Yeah.
Great question. So what I meant by that was more so in terms of, how do you create that referral? Meaning that people refer you if you do a good job for them. So when you create the system, either in Command or another CRM, you're creating a system that creates consistency. out of consistency, you get people that will refer you because they know I can depend on Robert, I can depend on Lee. They do the same quality job each and every time. So what you're doing is you're creating a system that helps you in the long game of marketing establish and build a strong referral program, meaning that when people work with you, they automatically always want to refer you because you do a quality job, you're on it, you do your job all the time, every time. So that's what I meant by that.
So let's dive in, let's take a look. And so making sure that you guys got my command. Yeah, all right, awesome. So radical transparency, I know you guys might not be using it, right? Maybe you're using a system like Boomtown or Follow Up Boss or Lion's Desk. You know what? If I could show you how to save $12,000 annually by using a free tool of command, would that be helpful? And let's talk more, right? But we get it. You whatever it is that you're using to get paid and do compliance, you need to use command. So what Latasha was talking about, there are people that are fully running their business using opportunities, and that's great. That being said, compliance in contract, under contract, let's make an opportunity. Let's make sure an opportunity is there. All right. So when we go in, and I'm in active right now, and I am going to steal this guy. So my little test, I'm going to move it to under contract, right? We're managing our pipeline. We're opening up escrow. We're going to go to under contract. We're going to open this thing up. Okay. So first of all, what's super important for compliance is that we put an address. We'll just put my grandma's house. I grew up there. So no more truth is, hey, the real estate market is a street over and could be totally different, to which your command website and app does is this street is literally the next street over. The market is different and it changes and it becomes Kahala, right? If you guys are familiar with Oahu. So I grew up saying Kaimuki, I live in Kaimuki, I don't live in Kahala, and it's literally the street over. So we're gonna use that. So we need to have this in there for the system to recognize and for compliance to recognize and be able to find it, okay? So like Latasha mentioned, we do things a little different. So when we know a listing or when we have a buyer under contract on Oahu, we give the market sender a little bit of everything. So not just the buyer, we put the address up front and the unit number. We will then make sure, because you could have somebody doing a dual, right? And so if you're missing, and I've seen on the back end where it just has a client's name, it's like, we don't know what side that's on. So we make it super clear and we say seller, and then we'll say agent. And then if you're on a team, the team leader's name goes here, right? And then we're all looking for the right things. A compliance officer is looking for the right things. Here on the team, you would add anybody else that needs to see the opportunity itself. And then now we have this property matching our title. Now we're feeling pretty good and pretty confident, okay? When it gets to opening escrow and compliance, we have these three categories. And on the sell side, we have listed, under contract, and closed. On the buy side, it says consultation, but there's nothing in there, right? It's just really under contract and closed. So if there's a question on what is required for compliance, your checklist, which we have a specific one for Maui and one for Oahu, your checklist is actually in the system. So if you use the system, you'll know what you'll need, right? And so for under contract, you notice the escrow instructions up front is telling you what's required, what's conditional, maybe per the purchase contract, right? So if you're following this checklist here, you're going to be okay. Escrow instructions, fully executed, big sign, purchase contract, counter offer. Now what we're seeing, and let me stop my share on that. What we're seeing as a best practice, and just to kind of show you guys what's going on, let me get my other screen here. What's happening is that in the purchase contract, there is a section A10 and A11. Now, this isn't a purchase contract class. Ask your BIC, right? Check in with your BIC. Though there is a section in there that's for special terms or addenda. Now, if your purchase contract says you're going to have the standard addenda and the COVID addenda, guess what's going to be required on your list, right? It's as an agent, it's like if I say it's there, it kind of needs to be there, right? And so that's where, and then the knowledge, and as a TC, hey, this purchase contract came in, I don't see this, and it says it needs it. So we all need to work together and dance together in that. My window closed there. That's okay. So let's go back to command. Does that make sense though? Right? We're saying it's there, that we're going to be looking for it, and it needs to be fully executed. So, you know, another thing going on is if you're a seller, if you're listing, we want to make sure now, if you're working with another Keller agent, that's awesome. If we're not, we need to know how we're going to pay them and who to pay. So of course, right, you've got your cooperating brokers form here and their W-9, right? Again, it's all flows together. And then a lot of the optional things, again, is per the purchase contract, right? Now, as you scroll down, now you're going to see your contingencies, right? You're going to start with your timeline and then title, SRPDS. And so if you follow this checklist, and you get towards the end, you're getting towards the tail end of your transaction, right? So it's really super easy to use. If this is reverse sortable, so if you just want to see what's required and it's like a cut and dry transaction, then you can reverse sort and make sure all the required stuff come to the top, right? Again, so this is where, can you guys see where like a dance between you and your admin and your TC would be super helpful in this? Okay, so then all we're going to do then at this point is we're just going to add a file, and we'll keep it super simple. We're going to add it from our, just going to add my compliance file here, and then assign. And so as you're going down, that's everything that you need. If there's documents in here, again, it's inspecting what we inspect, especially if we're working with multiple people. If you're going to your opportunity, which manage your pipeline effectively and proactively, have one. Anybody that raises their hand. If there's documents in here, you'll see that say open. If there's no documents in here, it's empty, right? There's nothing there. So you want it to be open. You want documents to go in there in place. Maui, what's your time frame as far as submitting like commissions? Latasha, where you guys are? Lee, Katie?
So it's 5 days. 5 days. So what we're doing just for the Maui people, currently it is the 5 days, but we may be tweaking that. So we'll definitely send out some information. I know Kurt had a question and I want to follow up with one thing.
Sure.
Kurt.
Can I be devil's advocate?
Sure.
Okay, so you know how much I love technology, and I think you know how much time I have on my hands. Not everyone. I'm speaking to Carrie, but I'm sure everybody's in the same boat. First question would be, I understand this is now a requirement versus before it may have been a helpful tool. Number one, my first question would surround around the fact that what if we have transaction coordinators that are not within the Keller Williams system? Number one. Number two would be, how much reaction have you folks had for people like myself? Like, I know this would probably make me more efficient, and it'll definitely help with tracking and communication. But I'm taking it that this came about because there were problems in complying to all of the requirements. Is there any way around having to use this system if we are?
That's a great question. It is going to be your one-stop shop, really, and it's built in to make things okay and easier. It doesn't seem like it. It's a bear. It is, right? Like, I've done a couple of transactions, and to do that and do everything you do as an agent, it's a lot. So that's where you're leveraging, you're fighting a TC. Now in-house or outside, it doesn't matter, though they're going to have to do the same process, right? And if they don't follow the timeline, so Tasha, we were just talking about commissions, right? In 5 days on Maui, the recommendation is always going to be catch the early bus. The sooner that you can get it in and submit it, the sooner you can get it checked, right? And so we do 2 weeks on Oahu, right? So best practice would be to get it in. Now, worst case scenario, to that devil's advocate, and you have your file somewhere on your computer. Worst case, you take a listing and you forget to get the seller to sign an ERS. That's has happened, and super unfortunate. Now, where is that file? I had one. I thought I had one. So the more organized you can be, again, the compliance process to help you guys stay out of court and to protect you guys. Now, if we're talking about a flying trapeze, and you as an agent are flying out there, your TC or your admin, you're going to be your best person, right, to grab and stay there. Now, should you fall, your admin or your TC is helping you look for things that are missing, and they'll be your safety net. By the time it hits compliance, that's another safety net, but imagine that safety net being 2 feet off the ground. It's not going to help you. Though it's there for you, you don't want to depend on compliance or somebody else to make sure it's accurate. We're all licensed professionals. We want to do the best we can, knowing that we're human too, right? And that's where busyness or whatnot, then we maybe need to take a look at some leverage and some help. But that would be, right, my suggestion. I don't think there's a right or wrong, but that's a great question and concern. Because, right, we're being radically transparent, so I appreciate that.
Can I add one more thing? Kirk, to your point about if you have a system that's outside of Keller Williams and how to basically adjust to make sure that you get paid. I can speak directly from teams that are not on Maui, that are not utilizing Command. And so what we are doing and gearing up for is, number one, what they do is they will hire a TC, and that TC will manage the requirements based on everything that needs to happen in order for them to get paid within Command. So they still run everything outside of Command. The only time that they jump into it is based when they open escrow, then they fill out the necessary forms to make sure that everything is completed. One of the things that Maui is looking into, and I think, I'm not sure if Oahu is going in this direction, but they may be going in this direction. For Maui, we actually started how to get paid in Command prior to them. So they're learning from our bumps in the road. But what we're doing on Maui is we're actually integrating what we call a TA, a transaction assistant. And what that person does specifically goes to what you're saying, Kurt, is they will be hired by the market center. And what you will do, or anyone on Maui, is they will email that person and say, hey, I'm opening escrow. And then that person works with you to make sure, from an uploading only standpoint, they're just going to upload these documents for you to make sure that everything is uploaded. And then that will make your transaction coordinator, or you or whomever, that process that much easier, because they're going to take that tediousness of uploading the documents away from you. So I did want to bring that up, that is something that is in the works for Maui, and does, I think, partially address your question. Go ahead, Kurt, you had a follow-up.
It does, thank you. So with that in mind, that transaction assistant, would those fees be added to something, or would that be part of our monthly?
Exactly, that's part, it's a bonus.
And let me address that too, because again, it would be part of your monthly fees, or it's free for Maui, and they're looking at it now. If your day is busy and you can't communicate with your TC right now, imagine another person chirping at you, right? So again, it's like, it's there to be helpful, though is that really the most helpful thing, right? So so it's not just as the agent, the TCs that are here, you got to be helpful. If you're not getting your paperwork, you've got to communicate with the agent. Hey, I'm following up. Hey, I know you're busy. And when we do the dance well, everything works together, right? And so it all works together. So that being said, let's take a look at the listing, and going back into Command really quickly. if you have a listing, what do you already have? What category up here do you already have in hand? You got to have your ERS and your listing category all in place someplace, right? So what we're doing is working with the TCs and going, hey, that's great, you're opening escrow. Send me over your ERS. Send me over all of the MLS data input forms. Send me over your Realist or Hawaii information systems for Oahu. Like, we have to know you have it. So then, because you're opening escrow on a listing. So either as an agent, you're going to go, hey, I'm opening escrow and I remember that you need this, but the TCs should be reaching out, and we're trying to help each other recognize that as a best practice, right? So we're then proactively kind of nipping some of these things in the bud. Now the ERS is the same thing as the purchase contract. If you're saying there's addenda in there for the seller to sign, it needs to be there. Seller executed only, right? You're getting this, however, before you get the listing on the market. So we don't need the buyer to sign it. We just want to make sure the seller had everything that you said is part of the listing packet. Does that make sense? Lee.
Can I jump in a second?
Yes, sir.
Natasha will love me for this one, but other people might not know it either. But what are you going to do when you have an off-market sale so there's no data in the MLS?
There's a category for that right here. MLS listing waiver. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not. It's a complete off-market sale, and well, I guess we did do the MLS waiver, didn't we, Latasha? Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
But it was asking for a property, and we couldn't generate the property.
Right.
So we had to generate a fake MLS listing, and it was a nightmare, to be exact.
So if you notice on these lists,
she got me through it.
If you notice on this list, like there was almost like 100 different items on each of these lists. All right. So you're going to recognize that there's a change, right? And so it is streamlined, and you may see that there's items that aren't there now, but these are the bare bones, all things being easy, that this is just what's required. So to your point, Lee, that's a great point. Should you guys need something else that is required based upon your situation, there's this add item button here, and you can add additional.
But that's not actually it. See, it says that the MLS input is that forms required, and you don't have those because you didn't need them on an MLS off.
Right. So then you have to have some kind of form, not an MLS input form. You have some kind of waiver or some kind of addendum or agreement that's stating that you're not going to have it on the MLS. And again, that's a great question for a BIC, right? I'm not your broker, or I'm not a broker. So ask your BIC.
I don't know if Latasha found out a workaround around that after what we went through,
right?
Because it still says required on the full printout and the thing, and you can't delete it.
Got it. So what you would do, what you best practice, add item for what you do put in, and then see this add comment.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to add a comment, and you're going to say not on MLS. So then you're going to work with your, again, it's that dance, right? So you're going to communicate the different items here that would then let the compliance officer know, hey, we didn't put that, because you're right, these things are fixed in here. Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely understand what you're saying. So then as long as you're communicating with everybody involved, then we're all going to be okay. So whether or not it's that the add comment that it's not on the thing, or maybe the contract, what's required J1, and it'll say on the purchase contract maybe that you waived it, right? But then the more that or for Oahu, we're not fully transitioned to commissions yet. So those of you that will say commission in command. Otherwise, the compliance officer is going to look for that green sheet, which is still required for us, right? So the more that you can talk, or your admin learns about what these best practices are, your TC learns and is communication. Hey, Lee, this was off market. Oh yeah, that's right. I got to put a note for compliance, right? We just want to have a heightened awareness of how we can best continue to communicate with each other. And then, so what you would do, listed, I'm just going to stick another file on here. I have a nice GIF of different things, but we're just going to select the file we're going to assign. And I assigned a large file. It's crunching. So while we're waiting for this file, what we're going to show is that now our listed is open with a file, our under contract will be open with a file, and we'll show you some timing that's going to help you guys in this process.
Harry, do you want to take Kurt's question while you're waiting, and then I have
Yeah.
a follow-up to Lee.
Okay, so I don't know, and I apologize to the rest of the attendees. I have not been a good command student, but so I apologize. And maybe this isn't the place to ask, but so Carrie, and just wondering now, so having access to this file that we're creating would be our broker, our compliance officer, this possible transaction assistant when we get them, us as an agent, and our transaction coordinator if they are contracted within Keller Williams.
Within or without, for somebody to work in your command, they're going to have to, unless you're on a team that has an extra administrative seat, they're going to need to sign in, right, and put the files in there for you. So that's a great question.
Okay.
Right now, on the back end of it, I don't know if you guys can see, but part of the Market Center success team, I have this Command MC, right? So that shows all of the transactions and all of the opportunities for the island, right? I can see all of Oahu. So that's where Latasha was talking about a TA for Maui. Right now, I'm helping, right? So I'll be emailing you guys, hey, we're missing this, and hey, we need this. So so we can see what's there, and without them having to necessarily sign in for you. Does that make sense? The compliance officer and then the success team can see anything and be of help. Does that answer your question?
It does. If we are also at next level coaching and having somebody, enlisting the assistance of one of the coaches, would they also be within this loop?
If you guys are using the productivity coaching team function, it works just like a regular team. And so what you would do at that point is, how I added Raylin to an assignee to my thing, and that brings up a great point. Really just backing up. If you're TC or who's making the opportunity, right? Even before we get into compliance and the documents, who's making the opportunity? And if you are on a team, are they making it under the team or are they making it under personal? And then you'll avoid the duplicate transactions. Where are the documents? Oh, they're on this other transaction, but we're looking at this one for compliance. So there's a little bit of confusion. So again, I think the theme is just over communicating and asking the right question. I know the high Ds and agents are mostly high Ds. You just shake hands and let's do business. And that's fine. But know that even as a solo agent, you have a team of people that is depending on you for communication, right? And the more that we can communicate or know that we need to in these sore spots will make the total road a little bit smoother. And it's not going to be perfect, but it'll be smoother. And then the more you dance with it, the more comfortable you would get, right? So don't ever apologize for not being a good student in command. It takes a lot of time. There's a lot of stuff. Okay, so on a listing, and again, on a buyer, you're not going to have anything, right? In this first category, it says consultation. It's mainly under contract. Hey, here's my purchase contract. Here's my co-op, right? MLS active. And so really, if what you want to do as we follow the under contract process is right about title, SRPDS. Is that being signed, the receipt, and is it being acknowledged by the other side? J1, termite. Now, generally, broad brush speaking, termite is done 10 to 14 days prior to close, and really that's the last contingency, right? Really just a slide downhill through financing. So that is going to, and that's why on Oahu, 10 to 14 days prior to close is when commission should be submitted, the DA generated, right? Your TC or you or whoever is then sending the DA to escrow at the same time. Best practice is to say, hey, here's my DA. I need to get my estimated settlement statements. Okay, and you notice that that's the bottom of the list. So at this point, contractually, with the DA and the estimated settlement, you would have everything you need to be compliant and get paid on time. And that's why the change on Maui, right? A lot of the contractual obligations were moved to under contract and away from closing. So now your closing checklist is really just, hey, we want to get a confirmation of J3, final settlement statements, and escrow sat waiver, and the sold printout. So this is done on day of closing. You want to get your things into compliance prior to, so that way the day of close, the check hits escrow and gets released, right? Ultimately that's what we want. So we have documents on the listed and under contract, or just the under contract as a buyer. We're working with our admin and TC to make sure it's all there and executed. You get emails, hey, I need a signature here. Hey, I need a big signature, and things are moving and getting corrected. Now, when you go to that 2-week time frame and TIR comes in, now I have everything. I'm going to hit submit to the market center. I'm going to go to each category needs to be submitted independently, right? So you're going to make sure you're going to need to submit both of those. So now it says submitted. And what we do it a little bit differently on Oahu, but same concept with information is that, and I apologize, my window closed. So at this point, we're going to send the compliance officer a triggering email that says ready for review. And it's over communicating, but really it's ready for review, but we're missing. What are we missing? We're missing all of our closing docs. And we're just letting him know, hey, it's not going to be there because it hasn't closed. Yes, that makes sense and obvious, but we don't want to just rely and assume on obvious, right? So the email, and I found the document. This is a document I'm looking for. Here we go. This is a copy that you guys will get. We have this really colorful screenshotted walkthrough, which then kind of covers everything that we're talking about. And right here is this triggering email that what we do on Oahu is we just copy and paste the name of our opportunity and put it right into the subject. And then we send it to Comp Officer 946 and we just say ready for initial review. And then again, I would note, hey, missing closing documents. And then that triggers him to review the file 10 to 14 days prior to close. And then you're looking for both of those sections to say approved, right? If it says returns, and this walkthrough will kind of show you how to make those corrections and upload those changes, okay? Last thing I want to make sure that you guys see. So far, so good, kind of making sense, kind of maybe hopefully found some pukas in what you guys were kind of looking at or thinking. I hope so, because yeah, I mean, again, it's like,
let's look question
yes.
From Mr. Patel.
Hi.
Hi, Naru.
Hi, Gary. I know I always have questions. Does MLS get automatically informed of the closure? Because I go into the MLS and try to look for my listing. It doesn't show me anything. So I cannot put it as closed or sold. To change it to the sold, I cannot do it. So was it done was it done from command or?
No, that's not done from command. That's a great question. And I think for that transaction specifically, we'll talk with Lisa more, Naru. Generally speaking, right, the agent, you're putting it on the MLS. And there are some TCs that do that as an additional paid for service, like they'll add it and then they'll take it off and they'll change the status. But really, that's your responsibility as an agent to change it. Naru, your specific transaction, I think, again, we'll check in with Lisa on that, okay?
Yeah, but I saw it. It's not there. It doesn't show up at all. So
that's right, and that's why I've got some information for you. So we'll check in with Lisa on that. But okay. Generally speaking, you have 4 days to make that change, right? And so
it's already 4 days today.
Do it today.
Naru, call Lisa. I'm serious.
Okay.
We have information. You need to call Lisa, okay? Today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So Last thing, sorry, last thing I wanted to show you guys is, everything that you do is documented in command. And so again, the high Ds, you having somebody else do this for you, you're hiring a TC, have an admin. I know you guys are busy. Have somebody inspect and look at the timing. Because if you're working the process, everything works out, right? If you're not working the process, or there's problems, you're not working the process. And so this last thing here that says timeline, it shows everything that was done to this opportunity, right? And so it'll show that today I submitted my under contract, I submitted a listing. It doesn't show that when the compliance officer reviews your file, that'll be in there and it'll say approved, approved, or returned, right? So that being said, if my closing day is today and I'm submitting it, or my TC is submitting it on the 18th, am I going to get paid on time? Am I going to be able to come to the office or go to escrow and get my check? There's no way. Now, you could have a perfect file and we all strive to, but hey, we're all human. Like even I've been helping with some files and looking at it, and then Rob is telling me, hey, you missed a big signature. So I get it. It's not that easy. Though if you submit it at TIR, you have 2 weeks to then reach out to the cooperating agent and say, hey, can I get your broker signature on this? And whether or not it's you or whether or not it's the TC, right? Like we want to help the TCs too. Get it in early and you can see it. And then you can kind of tell, hey, admin, or hey, TC, that's helping me. Like, what can I do to help you coming from contribution, right? What can I do to help you just push this submission time a little earlier? We need it to be in earlier, right? Commissions, DAs, that'll show up in here too. And so the more that we catch the early bus, the more that we talk, the more that we know what we're looking for to inspect what we expect, it makes a huge difference. And it brings like a peace and a clarity to you as an agent. And again, it doesn't matter if you're doing it or not. You should kind of have a feel of what's happening so you can help the person that's actually doing it for you. Does that make sense? Yes, Kurt.
Are there transaction coordinators on this call?
I put out the email, but that being said, if you guys are working with transaction, and you know what, I don't even care if they're outside of Keller Williams. Like I've reached out to the ones that we work with here at KW Honolulu, and I've invited them to this. It's like, if I can help them help you, everybody wins, right? So I don't care if they're with Keller Williams, they're not with Keller Williams, they're an admin on a team that you guys know. Like I would advise you guys to like, hey, like you guys want to see this, you guys want to hear about this, because then, or if you hear of somebody like having issues with their TC or with getting paid on time, like again, it's just knowledge about the process. Now, I saw this great thing on the Big Bang Theory. I know I'm a super huge geek. They had a character when there's a pilot. They had a character the girl was really abrasive. Whoever was supposed to be Penny was just not it, and Sheldon was kind of a perv, and it just wasn't what we know as the Big Bang Theory, and nobody was picking it up, right? They looked at it, they changed, they pulled those qualities out from Sheldon, they made Howard and Raj, right, and then that dynamic, and then they found Kaylee Kuko to be Penny, and they changed the dynamic, and that was a huge success. Stupid story to show that you just kind of need to inspect and to self-reflect and look at how you can make things better and be a part of making it better. And God, they were on for years, right? And a huge success. So not to say that you have to be a huge success in real estate, but the opportunity just to have a better life and better process and peace, it's right there. We just need to be accountable and see where we can come from contribution, regardless of your role in it.
Can I jump into Kurt's point just to follow up on you? Just so you know, Kurt, and everyone on the call,
I'm going to pop in with you.
we primarily, when I say we, myself, Carrie, and anyone else that's involved in tech, we come from contribution. So we always open our doors to any TC, regardless if they're in KW system or not. And so I know I personally, and I know Carrie does personally, have trainings with TCs in general, regardless of, you know, where they come from. TCs that are on the mainland, we invite them to come into our training. We invite them for one-on-ones. So, you know, I do group training one-on-ones. I know Carrie does. So we definitely make sure that all of your TCs have the information that you need or they need.
Great questions, and thanks, Latasha, for that. And so, like what we're looking at with the timeline, I mean, like when people are having issues, I've shot pictures of the timeline over and said, hey, you know, this is where we're at. How can we get a little bit more support to you so that, right? And again, it's just being willing to be a part. That being said, and we're out of time, and we have a staff meeting, and they want my Zoom. So, so we appreciate you guys joining us. You know, definitely peeps from either island, reach out to us and continue to ask questions. Sometimes it's great to see it in theory, but while you're in process, like, hey, we're here to help anytime. We will send this recording. We will send my free gifts. We have a walkthrough video, the walkthrough for you. Print it out. You know, it is, if it's hard to follow, give us a call. Latasha has that same copy as well. And keep us posted how we can help. We'll do this class again next week, and then we're looking at the next month of maybe not every Tuesday, but having it at least a couple more times, and we'll just continue it until everybody kind of feels really good.
Thank you.
Quick question. Okay. I don't know. I think people have done this, but what if, okay, I'm a Maui agent, but I'm going to be listing a property on Oahu. Whose checklist and stuff am I going to use?
Cool.
Maui.
I figured Maui's, but I just, but yeah, it's like, I'm like, okay, Latasha's gonna love me for this one too, right?
Just call me, Lee. I'll walk you through it. Just call me.
No worries.
No. It's
well, I mean, everyone might know if they just, I know it's probably not usual, but it's family people that I work with, they only want to work with me. And I said, yes, I can. I'm joining the Honolulu MLS to do it, but.
Yes, no, Lee, when you sign into your command, you're using yours, your command, so your list. Now the lists are a little different, and that's why I played that Karate Kid one, that clip,
that's
right?
Why
it's kind of different, but it's kind of the same. So any differences that you need to overcome, ask Latasha. It'll be a lot of it will be that add item, and that's awesome. That's an awesome opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Go Lee, go Lee.
It's just something to annoy you to Latasha. You're like, okay, what do I do now, right?
Because you know what, too, when it funnels in compliance, it's the same compliance officer, and he's looking for the same things, just in a different way. Yeah. Katie, does the class next week cover? Oh, wait, my little chat bubble disappeared. Does the class next week cover the same material as this class, or is it additional information? It kind of will be the same, like for me in training, I have to see the same thing like over and over and hear it. And then what I suggest too is to pop open your command and look for these things. Pull open a file. Oh, am I missing? Or see where something was returned, right? Why was it returned? And if you wanted to share your screen on that next week, we could. And we can talk through it more. But for me, again, training is just repetition of hearing it, then put into practice at the same time. So class would be similar. Maybe I'll get a better story than the Big Bang Theory, but we'll just continue to do it and be of support. But I appreciate you guys. They're like knocking at my door over here.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Latisha.
Yeah.